Good morning, evening, dear Nat Cannons, a kind ladies and gentlemen who quest or troll the wonderful land of YouTube. My name is Cholumbo, and today we'll be talking about the Video Game Awards, which will be happening later today. For us, it will be very late at night, so yeah, that's definitely good timing on their part. Well, they can't keep up with every time zone, can they? So, first off, the Video Game Awards, first question that comes to mind when you think of something such as a Video Game Awards is is there even a use for that type of thing? And when it comes to basically objectively stating what is a good game or what isn't a good game, obviously you can't really do that because everything's subjective, so on that point it would probably fail. But what it does do is it does give a nice interaction between the games that were created that year, the creators that made them to some degree, and the people who have played the game, because people can basically come out in support of their favorite game if that game is obviously nominated. If it wasn't, well, then you have to pick another game. Grudgingly sometimes, but you would have to pick another game, obviously. But at least you have that, then you can cheer for the game and you can follow and see if it wins or not. You can also complain about the games if a sucky game wins. That also brings people together. I mean, you can complain about if some game some shit like Fortnite wins something. I mean, that's something that a lot of people would complain about. So, see, there's always something that keeps a conversation going. So at least it's something that adds something to a conversation about video games. And to be honest, another thing that it basically helps add to, even though it could seem a bit ridiculous, because you could make the same argument there. When it comes to movies or music, all those art forms, they basically have the same thing going for them. They have their annual events where it's ooh, best music, ooh, best movie. So if video games wants to be on the same level as if you want to get video games on the same level when it comes to video games or art, if you want to get that interpretation going, and if you want to put some power behind that statement, you would basically need some kind of video game award show, what this thing is, basically. So I think that's the use of this. There's not much more to it. Like I said, enjoying a game or thinking if you will enjoy a game still comes down to your personal preferences, and the only way you could potentially figure out before playing a game if it's your cup of tea or not is basically finding a person that shares your opinions a lot of times about games, finding someone who puts videos out reviewing games and has similar opinions. So that's probably the only thing. These video games awards aren't really gonna help you figure out if you like a game or not. Maybe if you were on the fence and it's Game of the Year now and it gets a huge discount because of that, maybe that's a good thing about it. Maybe we'll get some nice discounts, but that's all I can say about that. About the next thing I would like to talk about is the categories, and I would also like to go into the games that I picked and the games that I probably think are gonna win, because there's probably a big difference there. Obviously, I want some games to win, but I'm fairly certain that they wouldn't. So, yeah. Let's start all the way from the bottom, because I want to keep best game for last, like they probably will. I mean, game of the year, you don't want to start with that, do you? It's here's the game of the year, thank you, go home, bye people. That would be very stupid. So let's just talk about the VR AR game is the first one. You had Asgard's Wrath, which I don't know shit about. We do have a PlayStation VR, but I haven't played most of these games. There is Blood and Truth. Then there's Beat Saber, which Barry has played a whole lot of. She really likes that game.
That's straight.
Did you vote for Beat Saber? She probably voted for the next one, No Man's Sky Beyond.
Oh, I didn't fucking vote for that.
She didn't vote for that either. Did you vote, like me, for Trover Saves the Universe?
No, I think I voted for Beat Saber.
Okay, she's not sure what she voted for. I just voted for Trover just because it's funny. VR is still relatively new in my... Well, there has been many attempts at AR, VR things in the past. If you could even go back to an iToy or the Virtual Boy. No, never. Not go. We don't go back that far. Let's just say you could go back to something like an iToy, which was basically an A&R type thing, and then you had...
God, iToy.
the Kinect and that type of stuff. There was a lot of stuff like that. Now you basically have the VR goggles, which are basically present for a lot of consoles and computers, and there's different varieties here. So that's something that puts you into the game completely. And it still feels somewhat gimmicky a lot of the times. It's not like games are built and then they get into VR. A good VR game would be Resident Evil 7 still, because it was a game first and then they added the VR stuff.
God.
It seems like it was made that way. So that's how it should be. Let's hope that after like the effect of like the newness of the VR just gets on, that we can basically move on to games first, then how does this translate to VR? And let's hope we get some good stuff out of that. So yeah, I'm cutting it short because like I'm basically, there have been games that were games before and then made VR, like Bethesda did that with more, but their games like Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Yeah, that's a completely different thing. That's just Bethesda trying to get more money out of similar games. So yeah, Barry, that microphone is not on. I can turn it on if you spin it around. She's trying to swivel it over the other one. Oh yeah, there's also going to be no cuts in this video because I tried to live stream first, but that wasn't going to happen. Okay, your mic is hot, but it's...
My mic is hot.
Yeah. Ooh, hot.
Are you sure?
So you voted for Beat Saber.
Yeah, I voted for Beat Saber.
Well, you've played a lot of it, and it seems like fun, and it seems something that if you definitely move around, if you would also dance while shaking your arms, I think it's also a good way to get some
I actually do,
exercise.
surprisingly.
Okay.
Well, I dance to K-pop. K-pop.
Yeah.
Pop stars. That's what I dance to.
Okay, next one. It's the strategy game. It's not really a thing that I play too much of. I have played some stuff in the past, like obviously Command & Conquer Red Alert back in the day. Well, there has been some other things. There was another game called Ruse, which was very hard to play.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, that was on the Xbox, which was harder.
Okay.
It was definitely like more realistic strategy
Xbox. So
stuff.
Xbox 360?
Xbox 360.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Sorry. I forgot the
I was
360.
about to say.
I didn't turn around fully. So there was Age of Wonders Planetfall. I've seen stuff of that, but I haven't played that, so I couldn't really judge it myself. Then you have Anno 1800, which, again, here it just comes down to a lot of games that I haven't really played. Then the one that I voted for was Fire Emblem Three Houses, because it's somewhere down there.
You haven't played it. I've played a bit of it.
You've played it.
I played it and I think it's a really good strategy
You played
game.
it and I didn't get the chance to play it because you basically hogged the Switch at that time. And by the time you were through with it, we had Pokemon to play, so...
It wasn't that. It was literally, we got the Switch, and then we got that game as well. And then 3 days later, I think, Pokemon came out, so then you've been playing that.
To be fair, you also paid like half the game. Or part of it. I don't remember. Half of it? Yeah, half of it. Yeah. So you helped pay for the game, so I mean, I can't complain too much. Then you have Total War Three Kingdoms. Like, I mean, Total War games are always like they're a lot of fun.
I think my dad plays those.
They're a good balance. They're not too extremely hard if you don't want them to be. But they do require some strategy to them, like actual strategy, not like the easier stuff, because obviously Three Houses isn't really the hardest strategically.
No, not really, but you do have to think. Like,
well, otherwise it wouldn't be a strategy game.
Yeah, that's true.
Then you have Tropico 6. I don't know much about the Tropico series to begin with. And then you have Wargroove, which also I don't know anything about.
So the only one we knew in that one was literally
the only
Three
thing we
Houses.
actually knew. Like, strategy isn't really my thing, so I can't really talk about this too much. So let's move to the next one.
which is sports and racing games.
Which is a bullshit category. This was one thing that I had on my mind to start saying from the beginning. Sports and racing. Sure, racing is a sport in reality. In real life, racing is a sport.
It is.
It falls under sports. There's a rally,
F1, Formula 1.
All that stuff is basically it is sports. Yeah, that's true. But when it comes to gaming, there's so many fucking racing games. There's such a big market out there when it comes to racing games that I think it should be its own category. I think it's sports that's keeping this down, because I also think that is it split evenly? No. It's 3 racing games to just FIFA versus Pro Evolution Soccer.
Yeah,
apparently,
2 footballs.
not even any
racing.
basketball, any Madden, any what else is out there? I don't play that many sport games. I don't think should we count the 2K WWE games as sport games because that's sports entertainment. Yeah. Is that sports or is that something else? I don't know.
That's gonna be kept in.
That was definitely on a hot mic. Jesus.
I'm so sorry.
So let's say what the games are that were on there. Well, they can't see you pointing, but Perry's pointing at the
Also, I mean, you can point.
Crash Bandicoot and Coco over there because Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel is the game.
Which actually was announced at the Gaming Awards last year.
It was announced, yeah. That's the game that we voted on. And I couldn't have voted on any other game in this category, to be honest, because it's definitely a lot of fun. It's like a very, very much harder version of Mario Kart, and you really have to get into it.
It's Mario Kart for adults.
I mean,
young teens.
Mario Kart can get hard as well, but it's like the steering itself here is very much something to get attuned to. And I'm not saying that it's bad. It's like just it's so much quicker than the original game. It's like you're going twice the speed as you would in the PlayStation 1 version. It's just insane. I had to vote for this, and it's just so much fun online when it doesn't take you 20 minutes to get into a match, which is still a problem. So yeah, then you have Dirt Rally 2.0. See, I don't really play that much when it comes to like regular racing games. I do sometimes play some Need for Speed games, so I don't know. That would also still be a racing game, but it wouldn't technically be sports because it would basically be illegal racing a lot of the time. So I don't know about that. That's a weird thing that I just came up with. Okay, Dirt Rally 2.0 apparently. Pro Evolution Soccer is going up against FIFA 20, so you have both of the games that have to do with European football or soccer. How was
it's soccer.
Yeah, for the Americans.
Why I go so American when I said soccer?
Apparently the term soccer also came from England itself, so it's not really that something that Americans made up, so that's something, I guess.
We call it's football.
Yeah, but it's still apparently the word originates from England itself for some reason. Then you have Formula 1 2019, which has Formula 1 in it.
If my dad voted, he would vote for that most likely, because he's a big Formula 1 nerd.
Well, he watches the sport itself. Does that mean that...
No, it's just that he watches it, and he's like, shush, be quiet, and all you hear is...
Here, the next one is definitely a hard one, because you have score and music. I mean... A title track is something that does stand out. I mean, that does work. But it's hard to rate music because music in video games tends to basically to support the emotion and basically helps with the immersion in the immersion in video game. So a lot of the times you won't really be paying too much attention to the music itself because it's basically just adding to a certain mood that the video game wants you to feel at that point. So... unless you really take yourself out of it and listen to it, it's gonna not really be too obvious if the background music part is good. Score, like any intro type, that's gonna stand out. You're definitely gonna hear that. So
I will say that if Demo Reborn was in it, I would vote for that because.
Well, it's a bit of a small time game, isn't it? Like it's not doesn't have like a big enough.
It's big.
Crowds.
Well, it was originally a mobile game, so of course it must have gotten big because it's now on the PS4.
Yeah.
But like, when you say about soundtrack, it gets you like all the emotions and that.
Mm-hmm.
I burst into tears.
Well, yeah, that's something that can happen. By the way, the first one that's up in here is something that basically has to do with music. It's Cadence of Hyrule. It's what's the game called again? Is it the Necro Dancer thing? Was it? It's a Hyrule version of that. It's like where you have to go through a dungeon and you basically have to do it on beats. You basically have to attack and stuff, and you have a beat stuff going on.
Oh, so it's like a beat type of beat slasher.
It's a beat dungeon game. Beat dungeon slasher. I don't know.
Beat
something
dungeon slasher,
weird like that.
Right.
It's interesting. So that's one thing that definitely has some musical elements in it, and music is important for that. Then you have Death Stranding, which a lot of people have said that good thing. Some people have even said that the only good thing about it is the music. So
the music is pretty good.
I mean, that does tend to help save it. Then you have the one that we voted for. I think we both voted for it. Devil May Cry 5. I think we mostly voted for it because, like, the thing with music is if you play a game more than the other games, for example, if it's one of the only games that you actually played yourself, then you've been exposed to the music, and even if the music is just okay to you or something, it does basically add on repeat.
But like with Devil May Cry, like, oh wait, I did actually have a couple tears with Devil May Cry's music as well. I got a bit emotional.
Okay.
Not as emotional with demo, but I did get emotional.
Then you have Kingdom Hearts 3, which definitely music is definitely a big part in there because it's kind of like in Final Fantasy. Kind of like in Final Fantasy, you have to basically see when you have an epic boss fight, you basically have to hear that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like other games have done it as well.
I can't wait for Final Fantasy 7 then.
Yeah.
Just the...
Like even when it comes to that, like that's also one of the good things that Dark Souls also that like the music for boss fights, setting it up as epic and stuff. So that's
Dark Souls.
That's a while ago. So. And then you have Sayonara Wild Hearts, which is a Annapurna game. So I haven't really checked it out, so I don't know too much about it, sadly. So then you have the role playing game. So the RPG. It's very varied now because of all the games that are basically here. I don't really have a problem with this setup and how it is going, but well, the thing is, I do feel like there should be a bit of a split between online and offline because now it seems like there is a online game on there and like 4 offline games.
It's like multiplayer / not.
Because you have Disco Elysium on there. I don't know too much about that game, apart from what I've seen. I haven't played it. Then you have Final Fantasy 14, which is
multiplayer.
And definitely not something I've played because those multiplayer type of games, like, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't have enough time to get invested in something like that to begin with.
I would.
Yeah, you could because, well,
I'm a big MMO person.
And then you have Kingdom Hearts 3.
Which, in my mind, for me, it technically wouldn't count as like a role-playing game. Because you don't get to make your own character, so you're not actually in the role. But I can get why it is in there.
Yeah. I feel like I get what you're saying. It's more like an adventure type game, and where a role-playing game is more like taking role-playing like D&D, where you can basically craft your own character and then basically build that character. I think there's some character building elements in Kingdom Hearts, isn't there?
There is, because you can like customize like your gummy ship, the Keyblade. I'm looking at Sora right now so I can describe it. His spells, you can it's in that.
It's fairly limited.
It's like limited, but it's in that category.
It's more like an adventure game with RPG elements, in my opinion, as well. So yeah, I know what you mean. Next part is Monster Hunter World Iceborne, which is an expansion. So I guess that's because
the expansion on the main game.
Yeah, I guess
but
because they have
Iceborne now.
I guess because they have that, like I mean, would you even want to include that as a new game? I feel like that's a bit of a weird stretch there.
No, yeah,
like
because it's adding on to the story.
So yeah, okay.
So yeah, it is a new game.
I mean, that's something that's debatable, isn't it? Like I feel like if people want to debate about that, like if somebody actually watches this video, just go in the comment section and see, what do you think? 2 questions here. Do you think Kingdom Hearts 3 is enough of a role-playing game, or do you think is there a separate thing for adventure games, or do they just not really recognize that as a thing? If so, I think that split needs to be there. Then Monster Hunter World Iceborne, do you think the fact that there's a DLC that continues the story, do you think that's enough for the game to come back this year and be a contender in best role-playing game? Then we move on to the game that I actually voted for because it's The Outer Worlds, and that definitely has RPG elements in it. You make your own character. You get to choose a lot about your character and what they're good at, what they're bad at. You can basically get some extra flaws for situational stuff. If you repeat some stupid actions, sometimes it's like, hey, you can get this flaw, but then you can also pick an extra perk. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
That's the good thing about it.
There's a lot of RPG elements, and the characters are interesting, and they have their stories, and you interact with a world that has been made for you, but same...
Also, he's not a priest. Can we agree with this? He is not a priest.
There's something weird about that guy. I haven't gotten far enough to basically...
He's a guy that's dressed up as a priest.
Well, anyway... The characters are definitely interesting. It's like in the way that a good DM would set up a D&D campaign as well. So you would basically come up against some characters and they would be interesting and you would have to do stuff for them and you would get to know them better and you get to appreciate the characters, which is the same here. So I'm definitely saying that's the one that like my vote goes to, and it's far out the best in this. Yeah. I can't compare it to Disco Elysium because I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, it's true.
So then we have performance,
which is for the voice actors / the talent behind all the characters, like your favorite characters in the games, like in Resident Evil 4, Matthew Mercer, but he's not in this. So
let me call bullshit on one thing before we continue.
What?
Death Stranding is in there twice. I feel like they should have picked between two characters. Like either it would have been the Cliff character or Sam Porter, or whatever his name is, like the main character. I think they should have picked between those.
You say that, but Control's also in there twice.
Yeah, same problem.
So you have Ashley Birch, who plays Parvati.
Which I voted for because one of... Also an interesting character as well. Yeah.
Oh. Then you have Courtney Hope, who plays the main character in Control,
which was fine.
I've watched Griff play it, but that's about it. Then you have Laura Bailey from Gears 5, which I've watched and I love her performance in it, so I voted for Laura Bailey.
Just to say, Perry just voted for Laura Bailey to begin with because she's in Critical Role.
No, I did not. That is not true.
That's a fact now.
That is not true.
That's the original fact. She didn't look into this before she voted.
Actually, I did. I had actually watched
She's saying this now.
I actually watched her husband play it on the Critical Role channel, but...
Oh, so basically we're in the alternate universe where you basically... Was this the Bernstein or Bernstein? Wait, Bernstein. There's 3 of them! No,
what?
That was just a bad joke. I said Bernstein.
Oh my fucking god.
Whatever.
Okay,
it's just getting worse.
The next, you have Mads Mikkelsen. Thank you.
Don't know how that's so hard.
For Death Stranding. Matthew, I'm not going to try and
Porretta, I think, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. In Control, and then Norman Reedus in Death Stranding, which I would have voted for him, because I will say him swearing at the camera is pretty funny. When you like zoom in on his crotch, it's really funny.
Lol.
I've got to show you that later.
Lol. Yeah. I think, that's a weird game, but we can continue on with that stuff later, because this was just about the performance, and like I said, we had different choices there. Next one is the best ongoing game, which I think warrants me to read the actual explanation underneath it, because ongoing game...
Could be anything.
Yeah, it's awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player's experience over time. So basically, a game that's still active. So it has to basically be an online game at that point, almost.
Basically, what it means like evolve over time is like the experience over time. It could also mean that it was like a little bit buggy, but they've slowly developed it into something that's amazing.
Yeah, I feel like
playable, unlike Fallout 76.
One of the things that has been ongoing for the longest time would be GTA 5 Online, but I think that the changes made to the core gameplay have been so small that doesn't really belong on the list here. I mean, if they would have done some extra special stuff, like, I don't know, expanded the map and that type of shit, which would have made a big difference or whatever, maybe they could have still been on there after all that time that the game has been released. Who knows?
They could have.
They could have potentially
I tell you
released
what,
something
they
huge.
recently just come out with the Diamond Heist.
Yeah, but it's
the
just
new
they just
heist.
added a casino in an already existing part of the map, and then
They've added a heist to that casino.
okay.
So
I mean, yeah, it's just an extra heist mission.
it is basically.
So yeah.
So the games.
So
we have-
you have Apex Legends, which these Funkos I did not personally order. They're the
They're
ones
from
that
me.
Perry ordered.
Okay, I love Caustic. He's my number one bay. He's on my lock screen. Bloodhound is my main.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Lifeline, who's my second main, and then you have Wraith, who I just think is fucking hot. And then yeah, what you can't see is like that's overhidden.
Yeah, she basically bought the two copies of Apex. She had like the Bloodhound and the Lifeline
let's get it
edition.
straight. I didn't just buy two copies. I bought the Bloodhound edition and the Lifeline edition. Okay.
That's what I was saying. Like,
However, they are still two copies of the game.
yeah, but I guess there was some exclusive stuff for skins
got
and stuff,
exclusive
whatever.
skin and that. But yeah, so
Whatever. So you know what she voted for, obviously.
That's
Apex Legends. I also voted for that because, well, I wanted to basically vote on categories, and this is not my thing. The only
he was either going to vote for Apex or Fortnite,
See,
and I had to steer him away from Fortnite.
here's the thing: when I play online games, I basically want it to be similar as how it goes to some parts of GTA Online and Minecraft. It's like I want to have my friends in my game, and other people can stay the fuck away from me.
Oh, so you wouldn't like Apex at all? 'cause
See, that's
they come
why-
towards you.
So I don't play anything competitively, definitely, because I don't care about that bullshit. I'd rather...
Oh, I get so competitive in those games.
So yeah, you have that. And then you have Destiny 2, which, I mean...
Didn't really play.
The reason why it's ongoing is probably because they did the same thing as the first game. It wasn't really complete, and then they had to add a lot of stuff to
Yeah.
it. I mean, that's still the same shit. Then you have Final Fantasy 14, which every
It's
time there's a
MMORPG,
gaming show...
so that gets added. Loads of expansions get
Every
added all
time
the
there's
time.
a gaming show, you see something about it, something being added. So I think
man, I
it
wish
does deserve
Neverwinter
being
was on
here.
it now. Sorry.
Well, Neverwinter does look a lot shittier
it
in
does.
quality-wise. And
It does. But that's the reason why I love it.
you know what we need? An actual decent D&D game where you can basically just make your campaign.
There's actually one going to be in the make. It's actually in the makes.
I feel like the way how you basically what Dreams looks like, how you're gonna be able to see.
Yeah, I think that's actually a D&D
something
game
like
that's
that
in the
for-
makes
for
by the
D&D.
people who created the D&D.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So
let's hope that doesn't take too long. Like
let's skip over that one.
making maps, having played. So then you have Fortnite, which obviously
Let's just skip over that.
It's just there. Like a lot of people play that for some reason. A lot of people like. Gotta be honest, just the art style just already annoys me so much.
I get
it's
a
just like,
headache. I've tried playing it.
what it looks to me is like the obnoxiousness, like the just the word obnoxiousness, like turned into an art style. That's basically what it looks like to me. I don't know. It's just like a lot of like it also has something what would I say, Blizzard like. It's like a rip off Blizzard style, and
I also want to put one thing in
What?
here. I technically think that Fortnite should not be on this because Fortnite is not an ongoing game anymore. Fortnite is complete. Fortnite doesn't exist anymore. Now it's Fortnite Chapter 2. So technically, it should not be on this list because it's not an ongoing game.
I mean, you can have that conversation down in the comments below if you want to. I mean,
Please, bite me.
I don't give a shit either way. Okay, then you have Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. I don't even know that was any... I didn't know there was any reason for that game to be an on-game. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
Like, to say I thought it was just like a regular online game. I didn't know there was like stuff added to it over time, but I guess there is. I have to just claim ignorance over that. So let's
The next-
continue. Narrative. I mean, this is one thing that I find important as well. And I had a conversation with some wanker in the comments. Was at one point they were like, "Oh, games aren't about story." What the fuck have you been playing? Games aren't about story. So many fucking games have stories. A lot of games have story modes in them. What a fucking dumbass.
I guess he's the person that doesn't like do the story mode like type
I guess it's just play some online bullshit and that's it.
like,
And
what you say that? Overwatch has a story. Apex has a story. Sad to say it, Fortnite also kind of has a story, I believe.
see, here's the thing. Like he was talking about like games about competitiveness, and that I don't give too much fuck about like the difficulty of a game because I just want to go through a game and just have some fun. But
Yeah.
it does need to be somewhat challenging because if you press to a story and the characters are like, "Ooh, that was hard," and you were there like, "No, it wasn't." I mean, that kind of takes you out of it as well. You have to
It
basically feel the
does.
hardships and go again, even though dying in a game doesn't
Oh my
really
God,
make
Mr.
sense
X.
because the character starts. So from a narrative point of view, the dying doesn't really make sense. But then again, since you have to do it over and over again, you can basically kind of endure the character's hardships.
What was a
to
game
some
that has
degree,
to do
so
over and over again?
I feel like that's a good thing. I don't know. I feel like I heard a lot of people had problems with the God of War game, like the new one, even despite that not being hard.
Oh my god.
The only thing that I hated about that is that the axe is fucking slow. I'm
No,
used
no.
to Kratos' blades, and once you get them, he does get his speed up